the shadow within us. Feeling afraid? Then walk with me through the shadow. Not to be swallowed, but to be strengthened.
The lamp that did not go out. The room was barely lit. One small lamp burned in the corner, its glow thin yet steady. Shadows stretched along the walls, shaped by old furniture and even older memories. She stood still not because something was there, but because so much of her past was there. As she moved, the shadows shifted. They never touched her, yet they never fully left. And then she noticed something. No matter how they moved, the lamp did not go out. It did not struggle against the darkness. It did not argue with it. It simply remained, and at last she understood. Darkness may surround a light, but it cannot swallow it. So she took one step forward, not healed, not fearless, only willing. And the shadows made room for her to pass. The wound of love. Humans did not enter this world by accident. They arrived as breath fragile enough to be stopped, dependent on care, entrusted to the hands of others. They arrived as skin soft enough to bruise, sensitive to touch, vulnerable to harm. They arrived with a heart capable of devotion, capable of longing, capable of giving itself fully to what it believes is worthy. No one knows, at the moment of birth, who a human being will become. Love is placed inside them, before language, before memory, before understanding. And when love finds something it believes in, it follows without hesitation. It trusts. It hopes. It commits. But human love carries expectation. It quietly imagines how things will unfold. It forms pictures of what should happen. It assumes the path will lead where it desires. And when the path begins to turn in an unexpected direction, something inside grows unsettled. Not anger. Disappointment. Not rejection. Confusion. A heart can remain loyal and still begin to question. A follower can stay near and still feel uncertain. A devoted soul can continue walking beside what it loves, while quietly wondering if it misunderstood everything. This is the subtle wound of love. It does not begin with betrayal. It begins with unmet expectation, with the slow realization that the future unfolding is not the future imagined. When love feels uncertain, it seeks clarity. When clarity does not come, it seeks control. It measures, it calculates, it weighs outcomes. What will this become? Is this truly what I thought it was? Was my devotion misplaced? Love, once open, begins to protect itself. And when love begins to protect itself, it bends inward. It tightens. It becomes careful. It is still love, but no longer free. This is how distortion begins. Distortion does not erase devotion, it alters it. Trust becomes hesitation. Hope becomes strategy. Presence becomes positioning, and positioning casts a shadow. Shadow does not always arrive through hatred. Sometimes it arrives through wounded loyalty, through disappointment that never found words, through questions that were never spoken aloud. This is how shadow forms, not because love was absent, but because love was wounded and did not know how to remain open. And when love bends inward, shadow does not grow by accident. It follows a pattern. A quiet sequence of thoughts and choices. Let me show you how it happens.
The Mechanic of Shadow. Jesus speaks. Children, listen with both humility and hope. I speak now of something that has broken hearts, divided friends, and, when left unchecked, has wounded nations. Hear me plainly. Shadows cannot be erased. You cannot pretend they do not exist. You cannot bury them beneath smiles. You cannot silence them with distraction. You cannot hide them behind success. Shadows do not disappear in darkness. They grow there. But listen carefully. Though a shadow cannot be erased, it can be redirected. It can be surrendered. It can be placed into my hands before it begins to rule you. When shadows are young, envy, humiliation, resentment, insecurity, fear, they are still soft. They can turn. They can bend. They can still be shaped. A wound surrendered becomes humility. A disappointment faced becomes wisdom. A humiliation endured becomes compassion. Pain placed in my hands becomes strength without violence. But if you ignore your shadow, it does not fade. It matures. It studies you. It learns your voice. It learns your habits. It learns what you desire most. And slowly, quietly, it begins to guide you, not you guiding it. It guiding you. At first, it was small, a flicker of envy, a tremor of frustration. But shadow protects what is hidden. It feeds it in silence. It allows it to speak without challenge, rejection, humiliation, hunger. Wounds that could have become mercy, but instead were sharpened. Bitterness can become identity. Pain can become justification. And lies, when repeated long enough, begin to feel like truth. History has already shown what happens when shadow is left unchallenged. One disciple allowed disappointment to harden into betrayal. One leader allowed humiliation to grow into hatred. I do not speak these names to condemn them. I speak them so you may not repeat them. The world has carried enough of such shadows. Let it end with you. Do not despise your shadow, and do not deny it. Do not imagine you are immune. Do not assume darkness cannot grow within you. I made you in my image, not to be flawless, but to be teachable. Face your shadow while it is still young. Name it while it is still small. Bring it to me before it begins to define you. For I can take what you fear most and transform it. I can take anger and shape it into courage. I can take wounds and form them into mercy. I can take shame and grow compassion from it. I can take weakness and turn it into a doorway. This is how the soul heals. This is the way of the cross, not the absence of shadow, but its surrender. Hear me one last time. If ever you feel your shadow rising, if your thoughts begin to darken, if bitterness or rage begins to take root, come to me first. Do not act alone. Do not decide alone. Do not isolate yourself inside your own reasoning. I am your refuge. I am your clarity. I am your peace. Bring your shadow to me before it becomes your direction. For no darkness can master the one who places their darkness into my hands. Jesus concludes, "And now you understand. The shadow is not your enemy. It is your teacher if you are willing to bring it into the light. You feared it because you believed it would consume you. You feared that if you looked at it too closely, it would define you. But darkness does not swallow light. It only reveals where light must stand. Shadow has no voice of its own. It only echoes what has not yet been healed. Remember the lamp. It did not fight the shadows. It did not chase them away. It did not curse the room for being dark. It simply remained steady, quiet, present. And because it remained, the shadows could not rule the space. Light does not panic in darkness. It stands. So it is with you. You will not live without shadow. As long as you are human, you will feel its movement. You will sense its pull. You will recognize its whisper. But you do not have to live beneath it. You do not have to obey it. You do not have to build your identity from it. Walk through it. Name it without fear. Surrender it without shame. Bring it into my presence before it grows strong in isolation. And step forward not flawless, not fearless, but willing to remain open. Willing to stay teachable. Willing to choose light again and again. For the one who brings their shadow into my hands does not become smaller. They become deeper. They become steadier. They become stronger without becoming hard. Shadow, surrendered, becomes wisdom. And this is where the shadow yields and the light begins. Not outside of you, but within you. And this is where the story continues.
Thank you for listening and for watching. If this message spoke to you, please like and subscribe so that love and compassion may reach those who are still walking through darkness. From a larger work exploring love, shadow, and the architecture of the human heart, narrated from the book, Jesus' Return, Rebuilding the Architecture of Love. Foundation, 17 Shadow. Date, March 6, 2026. Video 9.